Record. Okay, so let's all come on our back. We'll go into our corpse pose or our Shavasana. Make sure you're nice and comfy. Take your time to find a nice comfortable position on your mat. Knees can be bent, legs can be straight. If you want a pillow under your head, no problem, pillow under the knees. If for some reason laying on your back wasn't comfortable, you could always move to your side. But let's just spend a few moments starting to find some quiet at the end of our day. So without changing anything in terms of your breath, just observe. So just start to notice where your breathing is at and where your body's at. Let's just take the next few breaths to just notice. And then a little more consciously, let's start to expand and lengthen your inhale a little more. Imagining you're breathing 360 degrees into your abdomen, your side body, your back. Expanding through the rib cage similarly, up into the chest. And then allowing that to reverse as you empty the lungs as fully as you can. Breathing in and out through the nose as much as possible. And just really tuned in with your awareness and your breathing. So long, full inhales. Slow, complete exhales. And as you continue to monitor your breath, now start to connect that to the body. And by that, I mean, start to send your awareness of your breath and the direction of your breath into the areas that maybe are holding some tension, that could use a little more space. that would benefit from a little bit of an undoing. And just again, notice. Notice if those spots are new. Notice if those are spots that are very consistent in your body. Notice if they feel deep, if they feel more superficial. Does it feel like it's in a joint, or is it in a muscle? And just send your breath there. Just send your conscious breath in an effort to allow that to unwind a little. And that's just through our nervous system. It's just through the down regulation of our fight and flight sympathetic system. And then just wiggling fingers, wiggling toes. Bring a little movement to those body parts. And you can just gently turn your head from side to side. And just again, notice where you're at. Notice where your energy's at. You can always set a little intention for your yoga practice tonight in terms of a thought, a feeling, an anchor point. And then on your next inhale, we'll just give those knees a nice hug in towards your chest. And just gently, a little rock and roll from side to side. And just notice what you notice in terms of your spine, in terms of your hips. Try and relax your shoulders away from your ears. Keep the back of your neck long. Soften through the groin. Excuse me. And just again, noticing. And then we'll just place those feet down on the mat. Place them as wide as your yoga mat. Nice and wide. And we'll just windshield wiper those knees from side to side. So just really gently, feet on the mat. Take the knees from side to side. And again, just notice, is there any pulling at your lower back with that? Can you feel the femur bones, the thigh bones turn in the hips? Can you reach the knees down towards the floor, towards the mat? Do you change your breath to make that happen? And just notice, just be aware. Awesome. Okay, we'll give those knees another little hug in towards your chest. Just gently again, maybe a little tighter squeeze if that's available. Just kind of notice. Good. And then we're gonna roll onto our stomachs actually. So Jessica, I'll have you stay here and let's have you come into bound angle pose, Jessica. So soles of the feet together, knees wide. And we're gonna come onto our stomach and we're just gonna lay flat on your stomach. You can turn your cheek to one side or you can make a little platform under your head. If your back is uncomfortable at all, you can always put a little pillow under your hips. But otherwise, we just want to find some comfort laying on your stomach. Oh, Sarah, good call there. And while you're here on your stomach, let's use this opportunity to really breathe into the spine. So the ground or your mat becomes an anchor point for you to breathe into. And just think of lengthening through the spine, expanding through the back body while you're in this pose. So simple, but for those of us sitting a lot during our days right now, we can get some really nice length through the front of the body. And we'll expand upon this as we move along here. So encourage yourself to stay focused with the breath, despite the stillness of the body. And again, just notice any tension spots here, maybe in the lower back, maybe in the neck. And just gently breathe into that. Sometimes it's nice to, as you inhale, think about relaxing that breath all the way along the spine. And as you exhale, you can give a little bit of tuck of the pelvis as you draw your pubic bone away from the mat and you lengthen your tailbone. So you could follow a bit of that pattern while you're breathing if you like. Lovely. Okay, let's now come up onto our hands and knees. So Sarah and Jessica, maybe join us if you can there. So we'll go onto our hands and knees. We'll just do our simple cat-cow here. So we're going to inhale, lift the gaze, lift the chest, arch the spine, draw the shoulders away from the ears, and then mindfully tuck the lower back, round through the mid-back, and let your head hang. So really let the back of your neck go long here. And then we can reverse that as you inhale. Shoulders away from the ears, really root down into your hands. You can even press into your palms to create more length and activation through the shoulders. And then exhale, reversing, tuck tail, really reach into your lower back and between your shoulder blades and try and hang that head, almost tucking the chin. And again, inhaling, find the sticky spots. Think about breathing and reaching into the movement of those sticky spots. It helps me to pull the shoulder blades down as I arch the spine. And then reversing that. And it helps me to push through my palms, reach between the shoulder blades, and almost push the body away from the floor, away from the mat, hanging the head. Coming back to a nice flat tabletop here. Let's just inhale that right arm up towards the ceiling, finding a thoracic twist. So think about reaching the fingertips towards the ceiling, rooting down into the left hand, rolling the shoulder blades back and opening the collarbone. Take another deep breath in here. And then exhale, relax. Let's do the other side, inhaling that left arm up towards the ceiling. Think about the twist coming from your middle back, your thoracic spine, your rib cage. Root down into the palm of your right hand and reach the left fingertips towards the ceiling and maybe a little bit behind you. Try and keep your hips facing the mat. And then relaxing down. We'll just come down into our forearms. You can bring your knees a little bit wider if you want. So we're on our forearms, palms are down, knees are a little bit wide, toes can untuck, bum sticking up into the air. And then just gently rock your bum back, keeping your forearms on the mat. Getting some length again through the thoracic spine as your chest comes towards the mat. And then rocking back forward. Rocking back. Soften through the groin. You can certainly adjust the position of the hips here. And then like a child's pose, I'm still kind of propped through my upper body. So just the forearms are connected. My upper arms are still away from the mat, but I am sinking my hips back into a child's pose-like position. So just one more time there. Good. And then we'll come back onto our hands here. And let's do that thoracic rotation one more time. So root down through the left hand. Inhale, lift that right arm up. Think about twisting through the middle back, the rib cage. You can almost tuck your tailbone a little bit here. Watch that there's not too much arch in your lower back. You can look up at that right hand. And then exhale, come back down. And then finding that other side. So root down through the right hand. Inhale, sweep that left arm up. Open up through the collarbones, tuck the tailbone a little bit. Try and keep the weight even through both right and left legs. And then exhale, come down. Now, Jessica and Sarah, let's have you come into child's pose. The rest of us, let's come all the way down to our tummy once more. We're gonna find a half frog pose here. So we're gonna take the right leg up. So my hip and knee are bent. My knee's at a 90-degree angle. My foot is flexed and the inside of the foot is on the floor here. So while we're here, you can relax your whole upper body down. So make that pillow with your hands under your forehead here, under your chin. And then while you're here, you want to breathe into length of that right inside thigh. So as best as I can, I'm going to allow that right hip to start to soften to the mat. And I'm going to think of the length between my pubic bone or my hip joint and my knee. So we'll really find some length and relaxation, hopefully through that inner thigh muscle on the right. So this is a half frog pose. I'm just going to see where you guys are. Now, while we're in that half frog pose, Jessica and Sarah, you guys could walk through your child's pose from side to side. So in your child's pose, just find a nice side body stretch, breathe into that. Take several breaths there, come back through center, and then to the opposite side. Now, either staying there in your frog pose, or if you feel comfortable, come on up into your forearms. So now I'm in a Sphinx position, but still with that right leg flexed up. Just see what this feels like. So ideally, we don't want to have to take all this in the lower back. You want to draw your shoulders down away from your ears and almost draw the shoulder blades together so I can take some of the weight bearing into the back of the shoulder blade area, the shoulder blade muscles. So just see what that feels like. If that's too much on your lower back, just lower back down. Let's just take a couple breaths here. Good. So either staying here or you can come back down to your mat if that's uncomfortable. But if you can, see if you can internally rotate that right hip. So now what I'm doing is I'm leaving the knee and the thigh connected to the floor and I'm taking that shin towards the ceiling. But I'm trying to keep that isolated to my hip. So I don't want the whole body turning and my spine rotating and side bending. So I try and isolate that, not worry about how big the movement is, but rotating at that hip. And that really winds up that hip for me. Just try to work with that. If you ever get sore with squatting or a lot of running, kind of hip challenging tasks, this can help unwind. Good. Okay, let's softly bring that back down and let's all come back into child's pose. Now, Jessica and Sarah, I'm going to get you guys to come onto your back because what you guys can do there is you can do like a half frog pose or a tree pose laying on your back. The rest of us, let's kind of stay in child's pose for a few breaths there. So yeah, now you guys can do that version lying here. So again, just kind of notice. When you're ready, we'll come back onto our stomach and we're going to take that left side up into half frog pose. So to start with, I'll just rest my chin in my hands here and I flex that left knee to about 90 degrees. The hip to 90 degrees, the foot is flexed, the inside arch is on the mat or on the floor. And I'm going to breathe into that left inner thigh and get that inner thigh and that pelvis and that hip to soften down to the mat. So I don't want to feel like I'm twisted or rolled right. The right leg is nice and long. And just kind of notice there. Again, if there's some pressure in your lower back, you can always put a pillow under your hips or your tummy. And think of just lengthening through the tailbone. So tailbone reaches towards your foot. And maybe a little bit of lift of your pubic bone here. And just breathing into that, noticing what you notice. Either staying there or making your way up into your forearms. And then again, rolling the shoulders back and taking that arch up into the middle spine, the thoracic spine, as opposed to in the lower back. So for me, that intensifies the pull at the groin a little bit, but I can breathe through it. It's fairly comfortable from that perspective, but I can certainly feel it a little more. Stay connected and rooted in that breath. And then either staying here or going back down, but now we can try rotating through that thigh. And then Jessica and Sarah, just make sure you switch legs there if you haven't already. So now I'm rotating through the left hip by lifting the shin and working on trying to isolate it into that hip joint. And again, just noticing, how does this compare to the other side? Does it feel similar? Do I feel in a different spot? If you feel pressure on the inside of the knee while you do this, maybe just give it a pause and stay in the frog position. That just means there's a lot of tension in your knees trying to rotate as opposed to your hip. Okay, let's relax down. Let's unwind both legs. Let's bend both knees and just windshield wiper your shins, your feet here from side to side, similar to what we would do on our back. Awesome. There we go. Okay, coming back into rest. We're going to come back onto our hands and knees. Jessica and Sarah, we can meet here. So find that tabletop onto your hands and knees, tuck your toes, root your palms into your mat, knuckle down in your index finger and your thumb, and when you're ready, you can inhale and float your hips up into your downward dog. So adjust the length of your downward dog as you need to. Think about really rooting down again into that index finger and the thumb, and then imagine that you spin your biceps towards your ears. So as CrossFitters, we know that's that external rotation of the shoulder. So think of it being like your overhead position. You really want that locked out overhead position there. Knees can be bent, heels can be lifted, and think about reaching your hips towards the ceiling. Take another nice deep breath here. And full exhale. And then we're going to walk our feet to meet our hands. Feet are hip width apart, and we'll just bend the knees softly and just allow yourself to come into a nice forward fold. So wherever is comfortable for you. You can let your head hang, And just kind of notice what you notice here in terms of your hamstring, your glutes, your lower back. And then on your next inhale, we're just going to roll slowly up to standing, one vertebrae at a time, until we're all the way up here. Let me just adjust this a little bit. Okay, so standing in Tadasana at the front of the mat here, arms at your side body. Just broaden your collarbones, roll your shoulders back, and reach the crown of the head towards the ceiling. Think about lifting and spreading your toes. You want to feel those big toes connected to the mat, pinky toes inside, outside of the heel. Think about tucking the pelvis underneath just a little bit. Let's inhale those arms up, all the way up overhead. Connect palms together and exhale, hands down through heart center. Bend the knees and find your forward fold. We'll inhale and find a half back stretch. So knees again are soft. Fingertips can be on the mat, on your shins, but we're in that long, straight spine. Exhale and find your fold. We're going to step back to plank. Now you can either take your self all the way down through Chaturanga or down through your knees. And then Jessica and Sarah, just stop in your tabletop position there and go through cat and cow while we go through the Chaturanga. So all the way down to the mat, untuck your toes, inhale, lift baby cobra, or if you're comfortable, into your upward dog. As we exhale, we'll lower down. We're going to tuck the toes. Inhale through your knees or all the way back up to plank. And exhale into your downward dog. Take another nice deep breath here. And we'll walk our feet back up to meet our hands into our forward fold. Relax the knees. And on your next inhale, we'll just roll all the way up, one vertebrae at a time, back up to our Tadasana. Good. Good work. Okay, we're going to add on a little bit. Should work for Jessica and Sarah. Just instead of going through down to your belly, obviously, just stay in your tabletop, do a cycle of cat-cow, and then back to your down dog. So we'll inhale, lift those arms all the way up, connect palms, exhale through heart center, forward fold, hang your head. Inhale into your half back stretch. Exhale into your fold, plant your hands, step back plank. Inhale down through Chaturanga. Or sorry, that should be an exhale. And then inhale through upward dog. Find that nice extension here. Exhale to lower, tuck your toes, move back into tabletop here, and then lift the knees into your downward dog. Take a nice deep breath here. Now on your next inhale, shift back through plank. You can always take your knees down. So find your strong plank position. Then actually we're going to drop the right knee down, spin onto the right hand, and find a side plank variation where we're looking to lengthen the top side of the body. So right knee's down, right hand's down, and I'm reaching that left arm overhead to create so much length in the left side of the body. So it's a different version of a side angle pose. Now think about squeezing your bum and really opening up through that right hip, the bottom hip. Take a nice deep breath through here. If any of this doesn't feel great, you can come back to child's pose, back to tabletop, but lots of long breath here. One more breath in, and then exhale, unwind. Come back to hands and knees. Inhale, downward dog. We'll try that on the other side. Inhale, come forward through plank. We're going to exhale, drop that left knee, spin onto the outside of the knee. And I'm finding that modified type side plank, side angle pose. So I'm going to squeeze my left bum, reach that left hip forward, and then take that right arm overhead if that's available, and really breathe into that top hip, top rib cage. My inside sole or inside arch of the foot is connected to the mat. I can even roll that top shoulder back a little bit. And I have a huge long pull through that whole top side of the body. Take one more inhale. And then exhale and wind. And then we can just find a little bit of a reprieve in child's pose. Sinking back there. Just kind of notice what you notice there. Certainly you can adjust your child's pose. Knees wide, knees closer together. Awesome. Okay, one more deep breath in child's pose. And on your next inhale, bring yourself back up through tabletop. From tabletop, let's tuck your toes. Inhale, upward dog. Pedal your feet a little in your upward dog. Just kind of see where you're at. And let's walk your feet to meet your hands. Soften down into your forward fold. And then we'll inhale, roll up one vertebrae at a time. Lovely. Okay, moving on here. So in your Tadasana, arms at your side. Inhale, lift the arms all the way up overhead. Connect the hands, maybe a little bit of a tiny back bend this time. Exhale, hands through heart center, bend your knees. Hands are connected to the floor as you forward fold or to your shins, wherever that's available for you. Inhale, find half back stretch. Exhale, find your fold again. And this time we're gonna step your left leg back into a long, long lunge. Make sure your feet are about hip width apart. Hands are connected to the mat. Hips are tucked behind me. Really rooted down through the whole first or front foot. And my heels lifted with the back foot. You can drop the back knee down. Untuck the toes. Root yourself down through that front foot, back knee. Inhale, come on up into that knee down crescent lunge, low lunge. So hands can be overhead if that's available for you. If that's too much, you can certainly have your hands down at your side. So drop the shoulders away from the ears. And just find that edge of leaning into that forward lunge with some softness, we'll call it, but not so much that it feels like that left hip flexor might rip in half. If it's too much, you just back right off. If it's available, just nice full breaths in that low lunge. Let's place both hands down on the inside of the right foot. Back knee still down. We're going to plant the left hand and let's take that right hand all the way up and overhead. Tuck your right hip underneath you, roll your shoulders back, and use that left hand to find that little bit of twist of your upper middle back. Find your breath here. You can exhale, soften the right hand down on the outside of the right foot. Tuck the back toes, lift the back knee. Step the back foot to meet the right. Soften both knees and find your forward fold. Take another breath here. And then exhale down. On your next inhale, roll yourself all the way up, one vertebrae at a time. Good. Let's try that on the other side. So inhale, lift all the way up. Reach fingertips to the ceiling, but maybe a tiny little back bend. Exhale, hands through heart center, bending knees softly, forward fold. Inhale, lift the chest, half back stretch. And then exhale, fold. Plant the hands and step the right foot back this time. Find a real long lunge so you can wiggle that foot back a little. Make sure your feet are hip width apart and you're really rooted through the front foot. When you're ready, drop the back knee and tuck the back toes. Again, rooting down, we'll inhale and lift those arms all the way up. This is where you adjust. So if it's too much, I just press back through the front knee and think about finding that length through the spine and openness through that right hip. If you're comfortable with it, you can find a lower lunge here. Where there is a little bit of extension or arching of the low back, that's okay. Drop the shoulders away from the ears. Think about reaching for length, but also softening forward. Keep that left hip tucked underneath you and making sure you can breathe. So I always have a little bit of active integrity in the pose. I'm never just kind of dumping right into it, but at the same time, don't be afraid to explore that range of motion to a degree. Good, let's exhale those arms down. And we'll take the hands to the mat, tuck the back toes, lift the back knee, step the back foot to meet the right. Bend the knees and soften back into your forward fold. Just relax the upper body. Take another breath in. Exhale. And inhale, roll all the way back up. Awesome. Okay, so taking your feet wide, you can turn your feet out a little bit as well. We're just going to sink down into our Malasana. I think everybody should do Malasana every day, so that deep squat. So you take your hands to heart center, roll the shoulders back, knees go wide, and you can come all the way down into that nice deep squat. If this wasn't comfortable for any reason, you'd sit down here, of course, that's no problem. But if you're comfortable, don't be afraid to explore that Malasana. Sometimes knee joints or hip joints don't love it, so definitely come out of it. But otherwise, it's great for the pelvis, the hips, even the spine. Okay, let's slowly find our bum here. And this is where, if you're more comfortable in some of the seated poses, if you want to sit on a little pillow or a rolled up towel, you can. I'm just going to adjust this a little bit so you can see me. Make sure you can. Okay, so we're going to straighten that left leg and we're going to hug that right knee in nice and close. So Jessica, you'll be out here, and that's cool. Okay, so we're going to hug that knee in nice and close. The left leg's straight, the foot is flexed, my upper body's tall. I'm going to sit right on my sits bones, roll the shoulders back, and just see if I can hold that position. I tend to want to go into an arched spine, so I have to make sure I kind of let my rib cage relax down and really get rooted into my sit bones. And just kind of notice what you notice there. And then what we'll do is we're going to cross that right leg over the left. So now I'm in a cross-legged position. Jessica, you can be right out here. Sarah, too. cross that leg right over. I'm gonna hug that right leg nice and close to me with my left hand, my left forearm. It's kind of wedged in my elbow. I'm gonna roll that right shoulder back and reach that right arm behind me and find a bit of a twist here. So my left leg's still long and active. Shoulders are rolled back, and I can look over that right shoulder as I roll the shoulder back. Inhale for length of the spine, and exhale for a bit more of a twist. And just kind of notice how your body's trying to adapt here. So I'm losing a bit of connection on my right sit bone. I'm trying to arch the spine, so I'm just going to adjust and try and ground through both sit bones and relax the ribcage into the body. You may feel this a lot through the right glutes. You may feel it more through your spine, even your obliques. Yeah, let's unwind here. And let's just place that inside of the right foot on the inside of the left thigh. Just as much again as you're comfortable with. Try and make sure again you're grounded through both sit bones. Hands are at the side body. We're going to inhale, take the arms up overhead. And again, we're going to find a twist. So the outside of my left hand goes on the outside of the right knee. My right hand reaches behind me. And I can find another twist here. But again, make sure you stay anchored in your sit bones. And the twist is more through the thorax, through the rib cage, through the obliques, but not too much through the lower back. And again, notice if that left leg starts to turn out to the side. Try and keep those right toes faced up towards the ceiling. You can look over that right shoulder. Let's inhale, come back through center. And let's come into that bound angle pose. So I'll bring the soles of my feet together. Both knees are bent, and I'm just going to hug through the toes. Again, you can adjust where your heels are towards the groin. And again, another chance to kind of settle down into your rib cage. You may be tempted to kind of pull your chest towards your feet, but just kind of settle right down in. Relax your shoulders. And then I want you just to actively pull your knees down towards the mat. See what that feels like. Maybe pause and hold, and then let them relax. So just cycle that on and off. So actively pull the knees down towards the floor, using your hip muscles to do so, and then let it relax. And again, just adjusting if anything's too much, or you find you're holding your breath, and relax. Let's do that one more time. Draw those knees down towards the mat. Good. Let's inhale, take that right leg long this time, and let's hug that knee in towards the chest. So right on your sits bones, spine is tall. Jessica knee can be out wide or wherever it is still able to go. Right foot is very active, foot is flexed. And again, see if you can sit right up on your sits bones with a long spine. And just again, notice. Maybe next class we'll build on that and see if we can activate the hip flexors in this position. And then let's cross that left leg over. We'll give it a big squeeze with the hook of the right elbow. I'll walk that left hand behind and still nice and active and long through my right leg. And then I can roll the shoulder back on the left and look over my left shoulder if that's available. I'm still trying to root both sit bones down to my mat. Soften the ribs in towards the body. Hug the knee towards me and find a twist. On your next inhale, unwind. Place the sole of that left foot inside the groin. And again, just adjust this wherever works for you. We'll take the hands to the side body. Make sure that right foot stays flexed and active. We'll inhale, arms all the way up to get tall. And we'll exhale, right arm to the outside of the left knee. Left arm behind me. Oh, I just got a clunk. A little self manip. And just find that twist. So again, making sure you can breathe there, making sure there's some effort for integrity of the pose, but not the struggle bus. It shouldn't be like maximal effort here. Roll your left shoulder back. Look over your left shoulder if that's available. Good. And then let's just inhale, unwind. Let's take both legs nice and wide now into that straddle position. Again, if that's too much, bend your knees, right? And just make sure you're right on your sits bones again. So you don't want to be rolled back through the pelvis. So that's sometimes nice to have that cushion underneath you. Okay, everybody there? So we'll take the hands on the outside of the legs. We'll inhale, lift those arms all the way up. And we'll exhale and twist to the right here. So there won't be much of a twist. So wherever your left hand reaches, just ground that down into the thigh. And wherever your right hand reaches behind. Now the struggle here is to keep that left side connected while you're twisting through the upper body. So you're kind of doing two things at once. Feet are flexed, legs are strong. Again, you can be bent knees here, no problem. And just see if you can find that little bit of a twist in the upper body without letting this left leg go with it. So I really have to pull that left back of the hip down towards the mat. Just take another breath here. Exhale and unwind. Okay, maybe just bounce those knees around a little bit. And we'll just do that other side. So hands at the side body. We'll inhale, lift up. We'll exhale, take the outside of the right hand with the right knee. And then maybe there's a little bit of a twist. So I find this amazingly challenging. Just because the lower half has to be active. Like you really got to hold that position. And I find it can really highlight some areas of tension. So we're kind of winding up the upper body one way and asking the lower body to keep length in opposition. So big breath in. Exhale, tiny little twist. And inhale. Back through center. Good. Pick up those legs and bring them together. Lean back and just do a little bit of a windshield wiper here. Leaning back and sitting. And just notice what you notice. Good. Okay. Let's come all the way back down into lying. So just make your way down there, whatever way is comfortable. And once you're there, let's give those knees a big squeeze into the chest and a little rock and roll. So again, just notice. There we go. Let's place the feet on the mat, hip width apart, knees bent. Snuggle your feet in towards your bum. Roll your shoulders down and away from your ears and snuggle your shoulder blades together on your back. We're going to come into a bridge. So we'll take a nice inhale. And as you exhale, squeeze your bum and lift your hips up towards the ceiling. And see if we can really connect through the glutes right now after all that activation and length through the front of the hip flexors. in seated and in the low lunge. Let's exhale back down. Reset here. Take a nice inhale. And as you exhale, squeeze your bum, open up through the front of the hips, press into your feet, bridge pose. Nice big breath at the top. And gently lower down, trying to connect with your lower back before your hips. And we'll just reset, do that once more. A big inhale. And as you exhale, root into your feet, squeeze your bum. Think about opening, but quiet through the front of the hips. And then exhale, soften down. Good. Let's inhale, bring those knees to the chest, but nice and wide, almost towards your shoulders here. And then just rock from side to side, and don't be afraid to kind of let the knee open up, let the hip open up as you rock from side to side. Good. Place the feet back down on the mat. Knees are bent, feet are wide as your yoga mat this time. And just a few windshield wipers from side to side now, and just kind of notice what you notice at this point. Good. So we'll make our way into our resting Shavasana, our final corpse pose. But if there's anything you'd like to do before that, maybe a happy baby, a plow pose, a figure four stretch, if there's anything that would feel really nice right now, or maybe that feels missing, feel free to do that now. And whenever you're ready, find your most comfortable and supported Shavasana. If you're ready to go right to Shavasana, that is just fine as well. Make your next inhale a little fuller, a little longer, a little more complete. And follow through similarly on your exhale. Just take a moment to thank yourself for your practice. It's not an easy thing to move the body mindfully for an hour and focus on solely that. So thank yourself for that. And whenever you're ready, you can make your way onto your left-hand side and just take another few moments, few breaths there. No hurry. Just again, kind of reflecting on maybe what felt good tonight, what didn't feel great. All of it's okay, it's just information. And when you're ready, you can make your way up into a cross-legged seated position in your Sukhasana. Awesome. And when you're here, we'll just take our hands to heart center. We'll take a nice deep breath in and a nice full breath out, bowing your head. From my light to yours, namaste. Thanks, everyone. Everybody good?
Thanks, Jen.
Thank you so much,
Thanks so
Jen.
much, Jen.
Greg, you made it.
Thank you.
Love it. Thanks for coming. Everybody,
Thanks for doing this.
hip flexors. How are those hip flexors?
Tight.
Mine are screaming. Yeah.
Mine just woke up.
Crazy. So let me know if anything comes up from that. Some of that seated twisting stuff's so helpful, but hard to not take your whole body into it. But food for thought that way. And then getting on your stomach more. Getting on your stomach and breathing is such a good thing. So, okay. So I'll sign off. I hope you guys all have a good night and a good weekend. And see you soon.
Thank you.
Take care.
Thanks, Jen.
Thanks again, Jen.
Bye.
Great.